So, hey everybody, I'm Ian Buster Green, and the Saint Seiya movie is dead on arrival. That's sort of bizarre. So, yeah, in a short but sweet story, Saint Seiya, the movie was supposed to come out today, but it's been canceled, mostly everywhere. So, if you were planning to go see it tonight and you didn't pre order tickets, you might be out of luck. Now, I'm going to be upfront and let you guys know I did not watch this movie, and I don't know if I'm going to. As it stands, I'm not sure if I ever will, but I'm making this video not to shit on a bad movie, but to reflect on the fact that Saint Seiya as a franchise just doesn't seem to want to happen in the United States. Like, no one has managed to make it work, and I'm just going to take a moment here and think about why. Like, I can't really say I myself have ever been a real big fan of Saint Seiya. I guess I can see what some people appreciate about it. But yeah, Saint Seiya has long been a confusing and weird property in the West. In Japan, Saint Seiya is a classic Shonen Jump anime series that introduced most people to the basic concepts of Greek mythology. But in America, this show just never worked. The first time I ever saw the show was when I was a teenager in high school. The show briefly aired on Toonami under the English rename of Knights of the Zodiac, which apparently is based on the French name. And I want to say it was only on TV for maybe only 2 weeks, only 2 episodes aired. Because it's not like it dropped in the middle of the 1990s when it might have stood chance. It dropped in the middle of the 2000s, and I think it came on right after Gundam Seed. And the comparison in the animation between the original 1980 Saint Seiya and modern at the time Gundam Seed, that was night and day. So that really made the animation look like shit. To make matters even worse, the English dub was probably one of the worst dubs I've ever seen in my life. It aggressively bent into the fact that this was a show from the 80s. And so to start off with, it had replaced the integrity of the original show with just a weird re-edit that turned the show into a non-stop 1980s anime music video. To put this into perspective for you guys, the entire soundtrack was replaced with the best of Duran Duran. Really cringe shit, because even in 2004, anyone that into Duran Duran had to be a boomer pushing 50. Anyway, so this show was doomed from the start. On top of the bad and censored edit, the fact it came after Ronin Warriors had already stolen most of its hype for having a show about a bunch of boys in armor. And on top of that, the English dub of the show was kind of offensively homoerotic. Maybe it was done on purpose because a lot of the guys in the show looked like girls to start with, so that wasn't doing it any favors. Look, Saint Seiya has always been kind of a very gay-friendly series. It's apparently one of the first real yaoi series that led to the yaoi boom of the 1980s. I once heard a person saying that their armor looks like mini skirts. It's like they're all little drag queens. But in the 2000s dub, they were way too aware of the show's super strong gay following, and I think they leaned into it probably just a little bit too much, to the point where it became a parody of the original show that kind of repulsed casual audiences. Look, this was kind of part of the course for the mid-2000s. There were a lot of bad hot take dubs like this. One Piece had rapping, so, this wasn't that unusual, but it pretty much was suicide for the franchise. Probably the last thing that doomed the original show was it had a weird take on Greek mythology too, and while that seemed fresh and cool and original to Japanese audiences in the 80s, to American audiences in the mid-aughts, it fell somewhere between racist and, at the very least, cultural appropriation. It just felt like someone didn't do their history homework and they made a bunch of weird freestyle stories up. Anyway, so after the show was canceled after 2 episodes, I never thought about it again. The show just magically left my brain. Except then I lived in Japan after that. And in Japan, it came up again because a few of my friends were from Spanish-speaking countries where the show wasn't fucked up in its dub, and they enjoyed it. So they told me that the original show was cool. Instead of bad cliche 80s music, it had actually hardcore rock and roll and a lot of screaming. And yeah, hardcore rock and roll made the Power Rangers work, and screaming made DBZ work. So I'm honestly surprised the US version screwed that up so much, because I think if they had just done a straight true to the original dub, it might have been okay. But instead we got this gay 80s disco version, so that was all said and done. But considering at this point the show was over 30 years old now, and it still seemed kind of tutti frutti to me, I still didn't bother watching it. Sure, the uncensored, unedited version was out there, but I don't know. The show's original title was Saint Seiya. Saint Seiya? I don't know. That sounds way too religious for me. I just watched Go Line instead. Go Line's freaking hilarious. So anyway, the next time I saw Saint Seiya was when it came back on Netflix, because Netflix rebooted it. Of course they did. Now, once again, not my kind of thing, but I do remember a super funny controversy that happened in the 2019 reboot, because they rebooted the entire show in CGI from the beginning, but there was a huge controversy that they took some of the girly looking guys in the show, and now suddenly they decided that since they looked so much like girls, they would just be all the way girls. They would have boobs and vaginas now, and strange, uncomfortable new feelings were felt by all. It was some kind of existential hell for the long-term fans of the show, and I don't think they handled this right, and I don't think they ever made it right. As it turns out, the show's long-term gay fan base was so outraged by it, they called it a betrayal of gender stereotypes, and they chased the showrunner off of Twitter forever. So that was fun. Anyway, so once again, I forgot about Saint Seiya until a couple of weeks ago in 2023 when I went to see the movie Suzume. Now, I have a separate review of Suzume if you're interested in what I felt about that. But bizarrely, before that movie started in the previews, I saw that there was a trailer for a live-action Knights of the Zodiac movie produced by Toei and Sony. And the trailer for it looked abysmal, absolutely horrendous. Has anyone seen a bad movie from 2009 called Ninja Assassin? This was a really bad, really cheap movie made just to promote a K-pop idol. And even though the film was presented in English, the lead K-pop actor idol could not speak English very well. Anyway, what I'm getting at is this movie had that kind of energy. It looked soulless, it looked cheap, it looked ugly. It had a lot of shots in the trailer that didn't even have like proper color correction on them. It reminded me a lot of the live-action Devilman movie, which is also a classic anime abomination. So, yeah, that's not an impressive trailer. And once again, with the bad cultural appropriation mess, this movie looked like what if the Da Vinci Code had sex with a Power Rangers movie. Now, I'm very, very sure I'm going to never see this movie, but what's so intriguing today is even if I wanted to, I couldn't. Because today's the day the movie was supposed to come out in the United States, and bizarrely, it's been pulled from 90% of the theaters that were going to show it. Maybe all of them? I don't know. There's like a few like who maybe didn't get the memo and are going to show it anyway. Maybe they sold too many tickets and they feel like they have to like stick the landing now. But yeah, a lot of people who pre-ordered tickets for this movie, they woke up this morning to find out that their tickets have been refunded because the movie's just not going to be seen. Apparently, last week, the movie came out in Japan, and it bombed so hard. It bombed so hard that Sony has decided to actively cancel the American release of the movie. Now, let me make one thing clear. The reason it bombed in Japan was because they released it up against the Super Mario Brothers movie, which everyone in Japan obviously went to see, even Hideo Kojima, who hated it. But anyway, yeah, movies in Japan are very expensive, so not that many people go see them, so they better be good. Unfortunately, yeah, it bombed in Japan, the country where they expected it to make the most money. So now Sony's thinking, oh my god, what have we done? They'll probably just lose more money if they release it in theaters in the US. So I guess they decided to cancel at the last second, change their strategy, keep this away from casual audiences who are just going to make fun of it, and then release it only straight to the hardcore fans on video who really give a shit. It's a very bold and crazy choice, but that's what they're going with. Now, obviously, the vocal Saint Seiya fans in America, they're online and they're very, very pissed about this because this just ruined their plans for the night. I can't even think of a movie that has ever come out in history where the studio was just like, on the day it came out, oh no, this was such a bad idea, we can't release this. Like, who the hell cancels a movie on the day it comes out? Did they not do any test screens of this movie? Like, I'm guessing from the trailer, they completely half-assed it. But again, why? They could have, like, put more money into it and made it good, but they're just releasing it half-assed, and now they're not even releasing it. And You know what? This is from the same studio that released Morbius. That movie was also half-assed. And I guess that one made money though, so maybe they're thinking they can like morb their way through this, but I guess not, because now they're not releasing it. Anyway, I guess that's that, but tell me guys, do you like Saint Seiya? Are you sad that this happened? Is the original show really worth watching? Tell me if you've seen it. Or was the 2019 one better? The one where they were all girls suddenly? Maybe that one's more interesting? I don't know. I'm curious about the franchise, but I still don't know if I'm going to watch either versions. But just let me know. Like, should I watch the bad live action version? Should that be my first exposure to Saint Seiya? Anyway, this bungled release of a movie is probably historic, but it just once again shows that they can never get this series right in the United States. They can never do Saint Seiya justice. It just keeps like crawling along like a zombie because it's like so beloved in like Asia and Europe. But I don't know, maybe I will actually watch it after this. I don't know, change my mind if you love Saint Seiya. Sell me on the show. Make me seek it out. I'll at least give you this. Pegasus Fantasy is a pretty hardcore song, so I can at least get behind the theme song. Alright, I'm out. Later, guys. Have yourselves an awesome weekend, and good luck trying to see a cool movie tonight.